Well, definitely want to talk to you more about your experience with Butler and your experience in publishing, because you're working in publishing as well. But we have to ask you more about Antarctica and your adventurous spirit. What took you to Antarctica?
I love travel. I think as a writer, I want to see as much of the world as I can, just to inspire, my mind and landscapes and different things like that. I just really want to see, as much of the world as I can. And my parents have always been big travelers. So it's just kind of something that's been ingrained to me since I was little, that like, you should travel every chance you get. You should see something new, see somewhere new, meet someone new. And so that's what I love. I love to just go to new places. So then it kind of became my goal to hit every continent before I turned 30. And I think I was 30, or like when I hit them all, I can't remember. Maybe it was, I don't know, who even knows. But I did it eventually. So I did hit every continent, which was a huge goal for me. And it was just, it's just, and oddly enough, being in Antarctica is kind of, when I was down there, I wrote most of Tiger Queen. And so even though Tiger Queen is set in a desert that has no water, it's oddly enough based a lot on Antarctica, which is one of the world's largest deserts because it's so dry. It's considered a desert. And all I did was replace the stinging cold with the burning heat of like, you just can't get away from it. And then the snow that kind of hits you becomes the sand that kind of burns into your skin, because it kind of oddly feels the same when you're down there. So
that makes a lot of sense.
Right? Like you wouldn't think you wrote a desert book when they were in Antarctica, but I did, and it worked really well.
So between the actual environment and the temperature there and the temperature in your head, you were probably right about the correct temperature.
Yep.
And then I read this in your bio, and I have to ask this. You went diving with great white sharks in a cage, right?
I did. I went cage diving off the coast of South Africa. I used the company that they often film with for Shark Week, and they even found one of their decoys they left behind. So we towed a seal decoy behind the boat before we put the cage out and got to see a small predation where it like jumps out of the water a little bit. So it wasn't quite Air Jaws quality, and you know what Air Jaws is if you watch Shark Week, which I love. But no, it was super cool. I swallowed a lot of chum, which was not great, and the water was really murky. I thought I was going to get eaten at one point, but it was fine. It all worked out. I didn't get eaten, and I got to see some sharks.
Well, I mean, if you were eating chum, wouldn't that make you more delicious?
Right? I know. I'm already looking pretty good. I look like a seal when you get me in a wetsuit. So, I mean, I'm pretty short, so I'm like, seal.
Chum. Get some chum in your mouth. My God, that's what shark could resist.
It's like a turkey stuffed with good stuffing. I'm just stuffed with chum. Okay, wow. I'm sure your listeners are like, what is going on here?
What's going on is great podcasting. This is great. So have you not seen Jaws or 47 Meters Down or any of those movies that explicitly the point is don't swim with sharks?
I have. I actually love those I love the really bad sci-fi movies that are like the B movies that they just play on sci-fi on the weekends that are like Piranhas 3D. Like, they're great. Okay. I mean, they're not great, but I love them. So yeah, I don't know.
It's the Jerry O'Connell one. Is that right? The Piranha 3D?
I think so.
That's a favorite of mine.
So many. It's like Sharktopus. Oh, I just watched one. I think it was called like the Six-Headed Shark, where like the shark actually like uses its other heads to walk on land. It was insane. But anyway, I digress. I love bad shark movies. I love sharks. They're fascinating. I don't want to be in the water with them without a cage. I have. Not great whites, but other little sharks I have. I've gone scuba diving with them and snorkeling and stuff. But yeah, they're just fascinating creatures. So I really like them.
I think we could be best friends. I love shark movies. Have you seen Bait 3D?
No, I haven't. I think you had mentioned that one, and I have not seen that one. So movie night.
Evangelist for this movie. I feel everyone should see it at least once before they die. It's been bumped down on my place of happiness by Crawl, because Crawl is a little bit of a better execution of that premise. But in Bait, there's a tsunami that comes in and brings sharks into a mall and into a grocery store. So they're swimming around, and the people are up on the aisles avoiding the sharks. And at one point, somebody has to get grocery carts and make a shark cage to safely navigate.
Like, can I watch this? Because I need this in my life.
You want to see it in 3D. I mean, 2D is not the same.
Okay.
But it's widely available. It's an Australian film. It's like 4 or 5 years old now, I think. It might be older now. Time goes by. So
this movie.
We're going to talk about fiction. We're going to talk about Tiger Queen, I promise. But what is that experience of being in the cage with the great white, and what do you get from that you can't get from watching Shark Week?
You just can't get the majesty of them, like, and they're just, in the films, they're made out to be so dangerous. And honestly, in the cage, they could have cared less that we were there. They're just swimming by. They're just like, hey, what's up, And so I really love that aspect of them, that you get that different side of them. Granted, it did feel a little creepy, a little murky in that cage, because when they put you in the water, at least for me, the cage was kind of like hanging down a little lower than I would have liked, as they waited for 2 other people to get in the cage. And I was just like, there's a lot of room for me to get bitten right now. Like half my body is just like kind of floating here. And again, dressed in a wetsuit because it's really cold, I look like a seal. So yes, so that was a little creepy. And again, I was swallowing a lot of chum because at that point I was not scuba certified. And so what they have you do is you kind of hold on to the top of the cage. And then when they yell shark, you kind of hold your breath and you go down and you look through a little like viewing pane. You have goggles on and all that kind of stuff. But the waves are hitting you as you're kind of waiting there for the shark to come by. And that's when you swallow all the chum, is when you're just sitting there in the waves. So, yes.
Randy Sullivan, you have convinced me not to dive with the sharks. That sounds like an incredible experience.
So if you stay on the boat, you can see them pretty well too, actually. But there's just something about being in the water with them and just being like, look at this amazing creature. So you should do it.
A very adventurous spirit. I like to have adventures that I sit down and I write in my safe little book area here.
It's funny because I have a lot of siblings. I'm one of 4 kids, and if you asked my family who's the most adventurous, I would probably be last on that list. So it's kind of funny when I hear people be like, "You're so adventurous," and like I look at these things and I'm like, "Yeah, I did do that," but like in my mind, I'm the least adventurous of my siblings, so it's kind of crazy that way.
So is shark diving the most adventurous thing you've done, or is there something crazier still?
No, that's probably it. I almost fell off a cliff at Machu Picchu, but that was my own fault. And then I thought I was getting kidnapped in China on the Great Wall, but that was fine. Yeah, I've had a lot of... well, one crazy thing is, because again, I've traveled a lot. I went to Egypt with my parents, and a man tried to buy me for a whole bunch of camels. And my dad, being the dad that he is, he was like, how many camels are we talking here? And I was like, no, do not encourage him. You cannot encourage him. And my dad was like, man, if only I knew how to get those camels back to the U.S. And I was like, oh, Dad, like, come on. So I've had some interesting things happen. But yeah, maybe between the camels and the sharks, they'll get you every time.
That is the dad joke you have to make, though, in that situation. You're morally obligated. You can't let that one pass.
Well, he definitely played it well, so he got it.
And I had a follow. Oh, I wanted to ask you, when you were in Machu Picchu, when you were in Egypt, did you have the sense that the Giorgio Tsoukalos is right, that Ancient Aliens has been steering us clear, that those things were clearly crafted by aliens, or do they look pretty well man-made to you?
I mean, pretty man-made, but hey, who knows? It's not like we know for sure, right?
That's true. And since we're here, admittedly, because I directed us here, Annie Sullivan, have you ever seen a flying saucer, and do you believe in them?
Maybe I've seen one. I don't know. There was one time that I was standing outside my friend's house late at night. She and I were both there, and it was actually across the street from my sister's house. And we saw these little, I think they ended up being lanterns, like Chinese lanterns that someone must have lit for a wedding or an event or something, and they let them go across the sky. But I mean, you see one or two of those and you're just like, what is that thing? And they were moving really fast. So I was just like, I don't know. Were they lanterns? Were they not? We never found out. So
were they flying erratically or pretty straightforward but speedily?
I mean, it's been a while. It's been several years now. I can't remember if one of them like hovered there for a while and then continued, or if they just floated. I tried to get pictures because I was just like, what is this? I mean, we even called my sister over from her house because we're like, you need to see this. And even they, for a little while, were like, what is that? Because like, I think it didn't move for a while. And then it just started going again. So who knows? Mystery continues.
They were probably space sharks.
That's how they earth dive. They come down to earth and like check us out. And they're like, look at those little humans. They're so cute. And then they go back to space.
Who was I want to? Some comedian said that we're the place to go for alien frat boys when they get drunk. Like instead of cow tipping, just head down to earth and go laugh at the humans for a bit and then head off back to more exciting.
I in the story about alien abductions that's kind of similar to that because I'm like, yes, this is where they would come because we're such an easy target. Like we can't stop them. That's why there are so many alien abductions. But yes, yep. That's kind of, I think, how it is. There's a really great, I love The Twilight Zone, the TV show from like the, 50s, 60s. I'm probably getting the era wrong. But there is a really, really great Twilight Zone. It's called People Are Alike All Over. I'm going to give a spoiler alert. So if you don't want to know what it is, don't listen for like 20 seconds. But it's a great episode where a man crash lands on a different planet. And at first he's like terrified. He hears these noises outside his spaceship and he's like, what is that? I don't know what's going on. But then eventually he's running out of air, so he has to open the door. He opens the door and it's people. And he's like, I have crash landed on another Earth. Like, this is great. And then people help him and they take him to this house and they're like, we have this house for you. Does it feel comfortable? We want you to feel comfortable here while we help you repair your ship. And he's like, oh yes, this house is great. He's exploring it. It looks lovely. And they're like, all right, we'll leave you here to rest. And they all leave. And he starts to realize that some of the doors aren't real and that they've locked him in. And he opens the big curtains that are, kind of hiding him. And it turns out that there are bars across the windows. And he looks down and there's a little sign that says Earthman in natural habitat. And he's in an alien zoo. And it's just like the craziest thing ever. And I'm just like, oh, I love it. I love it. Like, you think they're going to help him, but they put him in a zoo. So.
Wow, in all fairness, when we put animals in zoos, we tend to think we're helping them. Look, you can just chill. There's all the food you need.
Yeah, well, right. Like, it looks like
your friends are going outside. You don't need to worry about that. We got this.
Yeah. Yes. So you should all go to that episode.
Slaughterhouse-Five is the one where the fellow believes he's been abducted by aliens, and then they found a woman for him, and like, oh, just do what you do. Don't mind us.
You're like, okay.
It's Kurt Vonnegut. In fact, we're Indiana authors, so I'm obligated to ask, what's your favorite Kurt Vonnegut novel?
I have to. Okay, you're gonna think I'm a terrible Indiana author. I don't think I've ever read them. I'm ashamed. I'm sitting here in shame. I honestly tend to read just so much YA fantasy that unless it's in that genre, I'm just like, I don't even have time. Don't even have time.
Well, it was lovely chatting with Annie Sullivan, everyone. Hi, Jan, what have you?
No, I've been cut off.
Start with God Bless You, Mr. Rosewater. It's my favorite.
Okay.
Plus, next year when we're at the Rosies, you'll be like, oh, I've read this book that this conference is based on. We're set.
Okay, good. That's the one I need to read then, when I get some time. And sleep.
Whenever that comes along.
Right.
I was on the fence about Vonnegut for a while, but he's painted on the side of a building right here in our illustrious city. And anytime I go to a writing event, somebody somewhere brings up Vonnegut in some way. So I finally sat down with the help of the Kurt Vonnegut guys, who this is a podcast you can listen to, because that's what I like to do on this podcast, is remind you that you could, in fact, right now, this moment, be listening to other better podcasts. The Kurt Vonnegut guys, and they go through every one of Kurt Vonnegut's novels in order. So I read along with them, but even like their in-depth discussions of each novels. So like, if you just want to fake it till you make it, you could listen to that show and have enough knowledge about the life of Kurt Vonnegut that next Indiana event you're going to be set.
That's good to know. I'm like over here like taking notes. Like, okay, I got this.
Kurt Vonnegut, guys, you can't